of a scholar, I think of a person locking himself away for hours of serious research and scholarship. Leo is that, but he's also so much more. He's always combined silliness with seriousness. He's fun to be with, and you should see him dance. Leo Braudy is a preeminent cultural historian and film critic. His scholarship and his commentary are distinguished by the ways in which he routinely crosses the borders between and among various disciplines: history and art, psychology and philosophy, film and literature. And as for his abilities as a communicator, Leo is a scholar who can speak to and inspire both his academic peers and the average TV viewer. A polymath is a person who knows a lot about everything. Last evening, we heard Leo described as a polymath's polymath. We'll soon understand why. Leo Braudy, upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the power vested in me by the Board of Managers of Swarthmore College and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I have the honor to bestow upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters.
Thank you, Val. And first and most important, congratulations to the class 2016. I don't remember who received honorary degrees when I graduated in 1963, and in time you won't remember us. But then the president of Swarthmore was named Smith, and now I'm back under the aegis of another President Smith. When Val called me about this great honor, I was at first thrilled, but then, much to my surprise, I immediately choked up. I'll probably do it again. But so things seem to come full circle. The commencement speech is such a rigid genre with its generalizations about the future and its aphoristic chunks of dubious wisdom. But realistically, what can I possibly say to you all, not only many decades younger than myself, but also in less quantifiable ways so different. Although on the other hand, listening to Rose's speech, things haven't changed that much. I have to admit though that I like aphorisms for their succinctness and their frequent play with paradox. To me, every paradox is a unity imperfectly understood. I probably tend to think that way because I grew up during the Cold War with its purities and its absolutes, its theories of everything. As Sylvia Plath writes in The Bell Jar, when I was 19, in other words, the early 1950s, pureness was the great issue. But I would say purity is a fantasy of people and nations who don't understand the power and significance of their impurity. And a belief in the need to impose purity upon others has led to more crimes throughout history than has the willingness to be comfortable with confusion. If I had to summarize my Swarthmore education in a nutshell, I would call it the victory of both and over either or. This hardly means detachment or unwillingness to take a position. It means understand context, don't rush to generalization, appreciate the contradictions. And so in my quasi-avuncular role today, I would suggest that when the world presents you with polarities or contradictions and asks you to choose, consider the complexity of your own presumed oneness and the variety and contradictions of your time here. Most will look back on these 4 years fondly. A few will have hated it, and some will just be glad to escape. Perhaps by some future reunion, you will come back out of curiosity and find yourself having a good time talking to people you rarely talked to while you were at Swarthmore, realizing that despite past political or intellectual or emotional differences, you had a deep bond that Swarthmore has created. For the truth is that for all the engagement and activism with the outside world that's possible here, life at Swarthmore is within a benevolent, wonderful bubble. Like Eden itself, it's a great place to begin from. I didn't attend my own class reunions until the 15th. Why not? I had a wonderful time here. I learned a lot. I made friends that have lasted a lifetime. I guess I didn't come back because I wanted to make sure I had faced the world with all its own disparities and disappointments after 4 years in a place with such an odd combination of competition and coziness. At that 15th reunion, I also felt very deeply the physical settings of Swarthmore. Sure, I knew this was a horticultural wonderland. You might never have known you were allergic to some plant from Afghanistan to Zanzibar until, courtesy of the Scott Foundation, it was here on campus. And I spent many springs carrying around a roll of toilet paper to plug my constantly running nose, and I'm still doing it. That's something else that hasn't changed. But now I wonder, where did all these enormous trees come from? They must have been here between 1959 and 1963, but I hardly remembered them when I came back at the 15th. Alexander Pope, in Essay in Man, calls the world a mighty maze, but not without a plan. And he goes on to say he will vindicate the ways of God to man. And when he writes about the maze part, he's brilliant. But when he gets to the plan, by the end of the poem, all he can come up with is a lot of capitalized maxims. Whatever is right, true self-love and social love are the same, etc., etc. Like Jack Torrance at the end of the movie of The Shining, Pope is frozen in the maze because he assumes he's just a minor part of the overall design, even though he created it. Generalizations are useful when they help us understand connections that might be otherwise submerged. But when they repress difference and variety and fruitful contradictions, they oppress rather than liberate. So my advice to you is to be aware of the trees as well as the undergrowth, and be careful of quick and easy generalizations, including this one. I should move finally from my historical self to my emblematic self. Giving an honorary degree to someone who studies literature and culture makes a welcome statement about the significance of the humanities, so often under fire as impractical or irrelevant to our contemporary world. But books and movies and plays, I believe, are often more flexible than readers and audiences. Many different interpretations of a work through time owe less to its contradictions than to its capaciousness. You've learned here an impressive array of methods and approaches, attitudes and perspectives. But don't forget that you learned it in a community of others, each with a personal take on everything. At the end of Paradise Lost, the Archangel Michael, about to expel Adam and Eve from Eden, tells them that they are leaving only physically, but they will have instead a paradise within, happier far. Let me wish the same to you. Thank you.